I love white pine. I think it's beautiful, but one of the things I don't like about white pine roping is how sparse it is. You can see behind me, it's just not full and beautiful. But one of the things I don't like about garland in general is that the way people hang it tends to mean that you're going to have half of it, which is running downward, but the other half is going up. So the pieces are splaying out. And the easiest fix for that is to cut this at the top corner and flip it. And by doing that, you'll have it going down on both sides, but we can do better than this. And we're making this gorgeous garland with the cost of $10 to buy some pine roping and a few dollars for some wire. Let me show you how. I want to show you how I take your basic white pine roping, which I love the greenery of, but isn't necessarily spectacular and full. And I want to turn this into something that's full, lush, and looks professional. And I can show you how to do it. Now, I happen to have a lot of beautiful evergreen trees on my property, so I can walk around and take cuttings. And all I need to do is take my little clippers around with a basket and collect some pieces, enough pieces to add to this. If you don't have evergreen trees on your property, maybe you have a friend that does, or a local farmer that you can stop by and ask if you can take some cuttings, or you can often just go to local shops and go ahead and pick up some pieces that are already cut. Now, I love white pine. I love the length of the needles, the texture's different, the color's a little different than some of my other greens, but we're gonna go ahead and add in. I have some blue spruce, I have some green arborvitae, and I found some boxwood, which I love to use boxwood in garlands, but I don't grow any here on the property. So I found a local shop that was selling garland out of boxwood, and it actually looks surprisingly green and healthy. I'm gonna go ahead and deconstruct this so I can add pieces in, and I'll show you the whole process. All right, let's talk about supplies first. Now, when I used to work at the florist and make greenery like this, oh my gosh, my hands were green and black for the entire season. There was no nice manicure when I worked at the floral shop. So starting out with some nice gloves that are thin like these are a little hammered, but they work. You want something thin, so you don't want a big, thick, heavy work glove because you need to be able to manipulate your fingers. You're gonna need to have a decent sized scissor just for the wire and things like that, or a pair of clippers to cut your greens. And the best investment you can make is to go get yourself some paddle wire. Now, we call this paddle wire because it's on a paddle. And the reason that you want to use this instead of straight wire is because it's thin and flexible enough that you can wrap it around and pull it tight. You use this to kind of pull it. And that takes the wire and cuts it into the stem a little bit and kind of grabs a hold. So as you're wiring it together, you're going to be kind of digging in and getting a nice firm hold on it. So get yourself some paddle wire, and I went ahead and put some of these supplies into my Amazon storefront. So if you want to go to the link in my bio, you'll be able to find these really easily, but you can pick this up at local craft shops as well. Now for my boxwood, I'm going to go ahead and deconstruct this a little bit, which means I'm going to take this apart. It's usually just tied together with twine. And then I'm going to unfurl it, and you will see, like most garlands, it's just wired together. I don't know if you can see that wire in there. It's just wired together in sections, and I'm going to go ahead and take my clippers and cut these sections apart. So I can add, this one's not wired, this one's twine and wire, so I cut it, there we go. So I can add individual pieces like this throughout my garland as I go. I come all the way down to where it connects with the next one and make sure that I'm cutting just the bottom of the stems and leaving this piece for the next section, and so on and so forth. Just keep moving down through, cutting these out. It would be ideal if I could find boxwood, but I looked everywhere and I couldn't find it, but I did find the garland, so I'll just spend a few minutes making it work. So I'm cutting this arborvitae in my yard, which is in the cedar family. This is a green giant arborvitae, which I think makes a great green. It's a wispy green. It's a different color than my white pine and a different texture. It's perfect. This is a little long, so I'm going to cut it into 2 pieces. And this is about the length I want. Anything from maybe 10, 12 inches up to about 18 inches is the length that you're looking for. One of the things I love about using arborvitae is how fast it grows. I cut so much off of this tree last year, and you can't even tell where I cut it. And I have 6 more of these, so we have lots of greens to use from here. This tree behind me is a Douglas fir, and it is massive. We traded an old tractor to a landscaper who had a lot of trees and nursery stock, and we planted these probably 15 years ago. Look how big this Douglas fir is now. It was It was 5 or 6 feet tall when we put it in about 15 years ago, and now it's massive. So I can cut pieces of it off and no one's ever gonna notice. So I'm gonna get a big bin full to add to my arborvitae, and we're gonna move on to the next one. Now you can see I'm not cutting off whole branches. I'm cutting small pieces off of branches, and this is perfect. These wispy long pieces, these are perfect. These are a little bit more painful than the arborvitae is, but they are worth it. You get a really cool texture and another color. All right, so I'm gonna get myself organized by taking my pieces and laying all my stems in the same direction and making 3 piles of my pieces that I'm adding. Okay, there's my arborvitae, here's my Doug fir, and here's my boxwood in this bin. Now I just need to cut apart my white pine roping and find the end. So when you're all set up and organized, we're gonna go ahead and start at the very end by adding in 1 or 2 pieces of our other greens. I'm just gonna hold them in the same direction and add a nice variety in here. See how full that is already? A little bit of each variety. And the first piece of wire that you put on is the most important. So make sure that you pull your wire around. I like to make sure that I cross it and wrap on itself. And pull, really give it a good tug so that it digs into the greenery. Really pull. Already time to add some more in. So I'm adding a piece in here and a piece in here. Piece in here. Trying not to suffocate the white pine pieces. Keep coming around. Pull. Now I'm making what we call a 3-sided garland, which means that I'm going to be able to see it on this side looking full, on the top looking full, and this side looking full. But my back is going to look a little bit flat, and that's okay because it's going up against the wall and you won't see it. The job is just to alternate kind of on one side. Let's say I go left, then I go right, then I go center. I don't like that piece. I don't like that piece. And then I go center. And then wrap it with my wire, pull it really tight. And then again, we're gonna go left. We're gonna go center. And then we're gonna go to the right. Making sure that I mix where I put my greens. I don't always wanna put the boxwood in the middle. I don't always wanna put the Doug fir on the left. I'm gonna mix it up. So I just put arborvitae on the left. Now I'm gonna put fir on the left. I just put the arborvitae on the left and I put the boxwood on the right. So this time I'm gonna put my Doug fir on the left. And then I'm gonna put some arborvitae in here. And I'm just gonna do the 2 this time because that section was really thick. You can see how thick and lush it is compared to what's coming, right? And this is just by adding a couple of pieces every foot or so. Having everything cut in advance and being prepared that way makes a big difference. Be careful as you're working that the white pine doesn't get caught into the wire, and otherwise you're going to lose it. So we want to let it drape out the sides the way it's intended to do. It's one of the benefits of having white pine is that it has this beautiful drape. So don't hide it. Sometimes I weave my wire down between the pieces that are hanging out so that I don't pull them in. So pay a little attention to how you're putting them in here so we don't get too much compression. And sometimes just snapping a branch in half and doubling it up gives you a fuller bundle. Just put that right in here. Okay, so I have it installed, and what I did was I just cut my garland apart right here at the corner. I made a cut, and now I'm going to take my garland and flip it. This piece, which is my blunt end, and I'm going to attach it to this one with some wire at the corner. So now my greens are going down on this side, just like that side. I'm gonna do that by making a loop of wire, and I have a screw in the top corner here. Each of these sections is going to get attached with a loop. I'm just taking some of my florist wire and attaching it to this end. And I'm gonna just twist it around here and pull it tight to cut it in, and then make a loop. And you won't notice the turn. And now we're just gonna hide them. It doesn't take very many pieces. Just make sure you get them in the wire. And now we've made it look like we're turning the corner and continuing on.